Can't Hurt Me, a guide to mastering your mind. All right, let's just dive right in. So, can your darkest, most painful traumas actually become your greatest weapons? I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive, right? We're usually taught to move past our pain, to heal from it and just leave it behind. But what if the very things that broke you down could literally be engineered into the ultimate foundation for extreme mental toughness? Today, we're exploring the harrowing, raw, and just ultimately triumphant story of David Goggins, straight from his book, Can't Hurt Me. But listen, we aren't just looking at a biography in this explainer. We're breaking this down to transform his incredible survival story into a truly actionable, extreme motivational guide. So if you're looking for a way to overcome your own past, your own traumas, or honestly, even just your daily excuses, the framework we're about to pull from this is going to completely change how you view your own limitations. Now, to really understand the solution here, we've got to grasp the absolute depths of the problem. Goggins didn't just have a tough childhood. He faced a relentless abyss of trauma. Starting at just 6 years old, he and his family were subjected to forced labor at his father Trunnis's roller skating rink, working crazy late into the night before school. And the physical abuse was just horrific. He watched his mother get beaten, and he himself was whipped with a leather belt until his dad was literally breathless. But even after they escaped, the nightmare didn't end. Fast forward to age 14. He rushes to a crime scene only to find his would-be stepfather, a man who finally brought them some stability, shot to death. And add to this the extreme, violent racism he faced in his teens, which included death threats and even a drawing of a noose left right on his school desk. It's just a staggering accumulation of pain. So the crucial point to grasp here is that this wasn't just sadness or, bad memories. It manifested as real, physical, toxic stress. It fundamentally altered him. The sheer weight of this prolonged emotional and physical abuse actually caused a severe stutter to develop. He was absolutely crippled by anxiety. He was even misdiagnosed with ADD and pushed into special education classes. Basically, his brain and his body were constantly stuck in fight or flight mode, just completely overwhelmed by the environment he was forced to survive in. And here's the thing. When unaddressed pain takes root, it completely warps our survival instincts. I mean, when you're drowning in that much toxic stress, you don't naturally think about thriving, right? You just think about surviving the next hour. To avoid being further ostracized at school, Goggins resorted to what a lot of us do when we feel completely inadequate. He looked for the easy way out. So instead of actually learning and facing the real possibility of failure, he resorted to cheating his way through almost every single class. His trauma bred self-sabotage. He was protecting himself from academic judgment in the moment, but he was literally sacrificing his actual future to do it. Goggins actually realized later on that his behavior had been a reaction to external threats rather than driven by his own goals and desires. He wasn't really living his life at all. He was just reacting to the hostility around him. Feeling totally helpless and disempowered by the racism he faced, he channeled his inner rage into becoming the exact stereotype that the racist people in his town feared. From the way he dressed to the music he played, it was all this big performance just to provoke a reaction. Subconsciously, he was entirely running away from confronting his actual personal traumas. He was wearing this massive mask of aggression just to hide a deeply broken foundation. But eventually, this kind of avoidance strategy always leads to a breaking point. You simply can't outrun yourself forever. Goggins actually had this spark of a dream to join the Air Force as a pararescue man, inspired by his grandfather. But that unaddressed fear, it caught right up with him. During water training, he just panicked. Combine that with a sickle cell trait diagnosis that practically handed him a medical out, and well, he took it. He quit. He went from dreaming of military elite status to ballooning all the way up to 255 pounds. He ended up working this dead-end job doing pest control for restaurants at night, just numbly going through the motions of a completely mediocre life, completely hiding under the fog of his own insecurities. But then came the ultimate reality check. To get back on track and qualify for the military, he had to take the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. The ASVAB. True to form, Goggins went into that testing room fully planning to cheat, exactly like he always did. But there was a massive problem. Everybody around him had different test papers. His usual coping mechanism, hiding behind someone else's work, just completely stopped working. For the first time, he was entirely on his own. And, well, not surprisingly, he failed miserably. Facing this brutal academic failure and getting a letter from his school saying he wasn't going to graduate, he looked to his mother for help. But she was so beaten down by life at that point that she didn't even demand an explanation. Her sheer resignation was actually the final shock to his system. It hit him. Absolutely no one was coming to save him. And this profound realization led to the creation of what is arguably his most powerful tool, And really, the turning point of this entire explainer, the accountability mirror. Okay, this is where everything changes. Goggins created this intense nightly ritual. He would shave his face and his scalp, staring directly into his own eyes. Step 1, face the reflection. Step 2, write raw, completely unfiltered goals on Post-it notes and stick them directly to the mirror so he literally couldn't look away. Step 3, stop blaming others. He would give himself this brutal, hard lecture. I mean, he called himself out for his weight, his lack of education, his constant excuses. Zero sugarcoating. No blaming his father, no blaming the racists or his awful circumstances. He took absolute, terrifying ownership of his own life. And guys, this is exactly what it means to flip the script on trauma. Instead of letting his victim mentality dictate his life, blaming others and escaping pain through cheating, he built a system to systematically conquer his weaknesses. Mastering the mind meant actually taking action. He started waking up at 5 a.m. every single day to do weight training before school. He started running constantly to shed all those pounds. He stopped avoiding the things that scared him and started deliberately walking straight into them. To truly succeed at this, you have to adopt an incredibly intense mantra. You must use your mind to get things off your mind. This is the absolute core of mastering yourself. Goggins realized that the trauma, the painful memories, the deep insecurities, they were taking up permanent residence in his brain. To evict them, he couldn't just sit around and think about them. He had to actively use his willpower, his discipline, and frankly his physical suffering to dismantle those deep-rooted fears. He literally had to build new mental pathways through sheer force of will just to overwrite the old toxic ones. And the results of holding himself brutally accountable like this, they're practically superhuman. By looking in that mirror and flat out refusing to accept his own excuses, he didn't just bounce back to a normal life, he skyrocketed way past it. He went on to endure not 1, not 2, but 3 grueling Navy SEAL hell weeks. He eventually graduated at the very top of his class. He became an elite ultra-marathon runner, raising tons of money for charity by running these just impossible distances. He transformed from an overweight pest control worker into one of the most decorated and respected military veterans of his era. But here is the ultimate takeaway, the real secret to this whole methodology. Overcoming trauma isn't just a one-and-done fix. You don't just look in the mirror once and magically heal. The concept Goggins champions is that you must callous your mind. Think about it. Just like your hands build thick skin when you lift heavy weights, your mind builds resilience when you continuously expose it to friction. You have to deliberately seek out challenges that stretch your endurance to the absolute breaking point, again and again. You have to learn to become comfortable with being deeply uncomfortable. That is literally the only way the callus forms, protecting you from the inevitable pains of life. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. We've seen how a man took a life of horrifying abuse, racism, and failure, and forged it into an unbreakable armor. The trauma literally became the fuel. So I challenge you, look into your own accountability mirror tonight. Stop making excuses for the things you know you need to change. Strip away the blame and ask yourself, if he can conquer that kind of abyss, what are you still hiding from? And more importantly, what incredible greatness lies waiting for you on the other side of your pain?